Rejected records. View records, filter options, correcting errors. Part of the submission process is resolving errors. While this demonstration will not be a comprehensive training on error resolution, we will provide an example and demonstrate how an error can be resolved using the CALPADS error list. We're going to do a few errors, and we will demonstrate the error list, and hopefully we can provide examples of processing methods and how they affect rejected record error resolution as well. Okay, so we're back at CALPADS. We're at the file upload screen, and we're going to submit single record files, and we deliberately are trying to generate errors, okay? And then I have a second file, it's an enrollment file. And so while we wait for the file upload screen to generate, there's a couple places where you can get access to documents to help you resolve errors. So in the footer, you have access to the error list. It's direct. And then in the help menu, you can go to the user manual. And within the user manual is a troubleshooting section under help. And so all the different error file types, submission, cert errors, everything is in the user manual, and it's also in the error list. And so you have download here. You have a video showing you how to use the error list, navigating the error list. It's on the CSIS YouTube training channel. So here's the CSIS YouTube training channel. You submit a file, you get rejected records. You go to playlists and CALPADS error correction, submission reports, review, and documentation. So you can see here under CALPADS documentation would be navigating the error list. So you have several videos that can help you. In the user manual, if you were to pick an error, some of these errors have the videos linked to YouTube. The priority at the time was certification errors. So I think down here would have been the video. So, and if you need help, you can create a ticket, right? So this is, again, not comprehensive, so I don't want to spend too much time. And so here you can see the two files that we submitted have rejected records, all right? So either could click view or select the job name. And I'm just going to open in a new tab to preserve this screen. And note, we have one record but two errors. So that is possible. That can happen. Okay, so again, the view submission detail screen. We can see the result of our file. Status is rejected. Total records. If we have several, say hundreds or tens of errors, thousands of errors, you can get a extract of those rejected records. It provides the error number and the SSID or the record details. And so here you can see that we triggered two errors, SENR 0027 and SENR 0178. So we have start date mismatch and multiple primary enrollments within the LEA. Down here, we have the file errors and we have a summary again. Now the message is the name of the error. You have the error number, SENR 0027. Primary enrollment cannot overlap existing primary enrollment for the same student LEA. And the biggest mistake in error correction and error resolution is thinking that this is enough information to resolve your error, okay? You have to use reference documentation unless you've done this a million times and you already know what to look for, okay? These are two of the more common errors you'll find when submitting student enrollment records. That's why we're demonstrating them. And often they do come hand in hand. So I would always advise to open the record in detail view. And the advantage of this is you can see the entire record line by line. You can see all the data submitted, okay? And then you want to use the error list, or you want to go to the user manual and reference the error number. So it's SENR, and then it's 27. You have the error description, the fields validated, suggested resolution that gives you details on how to resolve the error or what the problem is, and then suggested resolutions, specifically instruction on how to resolve the error, okay? Sometimes we'll add information here. If this technical information can be added to or helped along the way, we'll add notes down here under additional information to indicate where to look, okay? Here again is the error list. And you see at the bottom, there are tabs. I'm going to SSID enrollment, and I'm going to search for SENR 0027. Okay. And I go line by line. So I have my error number. Here's the error name, multiple primary enrollments within the LEA, right? So again, if we go back to the error, submission page, let's go to view. Multiple primary enrollments within LEA. Primary enrollment cannot overlap existing enrollment for the same LEA. Okay, so here we have this. So that information doesn't help us exactly. So you want to go line by line in the error list and try to find out the discrepancy, right? So down here you see primary enrollments are defined as enrollment status 10, enrollment status 30, for an enrollment period that exceeds 30 days. Okay. It tells you that an N470 no-show does not constitute a primary enrollment. We have indications on if it's input validation rule. You see the X, so it is. It rejected the record, so we couldn't post the data. If it was a data discrepancy, it would have posted. However, it would have showed up under data discrepancies. And we have fields validated. The enrollment start date and the enrollment status code. So that's what we're going to look for the error, okay? So let's look. We're in detail mode. The enrollment start date is 8/21/22, and the enrollment status code is 10. So why is this a problem? So we're going to make a comparison, and the fields validated between the submitted record and the rejected record. So I'm going to copy this SSID. On this other screen that I have open, I'm going to paste it in and look at the student's enrollment record in the ODS. And so if you have multiple screens, it's great, or you can go side by side. So let me pull this out, come back here and minimize my screen a bit. All right. And then we'll do the same on this other, so we can do a side-by-side comparison. So here we have our enrollment record. I'll open it. I think it will play better on the screen vertically. Okay, so here's my student. Here's my enrollment record. And so I have a 10 enrollment status, and the enrollment start date is 8/21. So I have a 10 enrollment status existing, and the enrollment start date is 8/22. So I can see the conflict, right? I'm submitting a record for Longfellow Technical Middle. I can see that my school of attendance code is the same, so that shouldn't be a problem. Primary enrollment status, and the enrollment start date. And so that's the problem, right? CalPAD sees this as a new enrollment because the enrollment start date conflicts with the existing record. It thinks that I'm submitting two primary enrollments at the same school, and they're conflicting with each other because there's overlapping dates. There's overlapping periods of enrollment. There's no exit date in my submitted record that was rejected. There's no exit date in the existing record in CalPADS. So from 8/21 until whenever, right? Today's 10/7. So 8/21 to October 7th, I'm trying to submit this record. Well, CalPADS already has a record from 8/22 to 10/7. So there's a period of overlap, right? There's a period of multiple primary enrollments, and that's what the SENR at 27 is telling us. So what do you do about that? Well, it says understanding the error. The batch SENR file or online submission contains a primary enrollment record with the enrollment status of 10, yes. The enrollment record overlaps existing primary record contained in the ODS, yes, we saw that. A student cannot be primary enrolled in two schools at the same LEA. So this isn't two schools. I've confirmed it's the same school, so why am I triggering this error? And so that's when you have to go kind of next level here, okay? And what I mean by that is it's not just submitting records using the error list to resolve. You have to understand how records are processed, right? And so that goes back to Module A when we have transaction processing methods. I submitted this record deliberately because I made a mistake. I wanted to change the enrollment start date from 8/22/2022 to 8/21/2022. CalPADS would not let me do that. It said it was a conflicting enrollment. It was multiple primary enrollments. Why would it do that? So here we have the CalPADS CFS document located on the CalPADS system documents page. It's the Word version of the document. You have transaction processing methods. Here's a description of how transactions are processed using processing methods. One thing I know is the transaction processing method does not allow you to replace operational keys. So I'm going to find student enrollment here and identify the operational keys. The following fields identify as an operational key in the SSID enrollment record: school of attendance, SSID, and enrollment start date. And so there is the problem for this particular rejected record. I want to change this enrollment start date or update it, and I cannot because it's an operational key. So how do I correct this erroneous start date? There's a two-step process, okay? I'm gonna close this. I can submit a file and delete this record, or I can go online in CalPADS. I'm going to open and select delete. Yes. So we have to wait. The transaction was a success, but you remember when we look at the view submission screen, you can see online transactions. And if you're waiting, you can just refresh and wait. So we're still waiting here. And while we'll wait, this is the CalPADS system documentation screen. This is the CalPADS system documentation screen again. CalPADS file specification documents. We are looking at the CalPADS file specifications docs, right? That's the Word document. If I wanted to see a field by field rules and requirements, that's the Excel version of the CalPADS file specifications. So that's where you would find the document I just brought up with the operational keys. I want to bring you here to communications, right? And here are the flash messages, okay? If you're unfamiliar, we have trainings on this. And I'm looking for a flash in particular, flash 224. As a result of the post redesign, transaction processing changed a bit. And you can see here, there's information about operational keys, how to add, delete, and replace the files, And just real briefly, it tells you in the current system, the operational key fields cannot be changed, replaced for existing records using the R transaction type. So that's how you used to change operational keys. Resolution: to replace or change an operational key field, like the enrollment start date, delete the operational data store record, that's the record in the ODS with the D transaction. That's if you're submitting a file. We did that online by clicking the delete button, and then add a new record by a transaction type. That's adding, or if it's blank, the transaction type is blank in your file, that's an add as well. Okay, so you want to pay attention to your flash messages as well. You can see it helps in troubleshooting. So here's the rejected record. So now you can see there's a single line of enrollment where there was 2. Our 8/22 start date record is gone. Right? So let me drag that out. We don't need a side-by-side comparison now. And what I have to do is resubmit this file. This error message will never change. This is here until it's archived. It's informational. You have to go back into your student information and make an update. In this case, the update was in the CALPADS ODS. What came out of my student information was already corrected. Remember, we're correcting the student start date from 8/22 to 8/21. So I'm simply going to upload the SENR file a second time. So it's created. It's going to go through the validation and posting process. If everything is good, it should post. And so if you're sitting here looking at the different stages, you have to refresh. Otherwise, it would sit here and look like nothing's happening. So you can see up here after I click F5, it's refreshing. So here's the indication that everything's going to go well. You see validated. And it says posted. So here's the record again. And you can now see the 8/21 enrollment start date. So understanding how files are processed helps in error resolution, not just file submission, okay? Okay, so we demonstrated how to resolve a rejected record in SENR 0027. And there's several different error correction videos available on YouTube. You have the CALPADS user manual. Under help, you have troubleshooting, you have the error list. There's many resources to help with rejected records. If all else fails, submit a support request ticket. So just to recap, when resolving rejected records, you're going to have varying types of discrepancies, right? Invalid data, missing data, and inconsistent data will trigger rejected records or input validation rule errors. You're going to want to refer to the following documents when resolving errors. Of course, the CALPADS error list or the troubleshooting guide in the CALPADS user manual. And the error list is good about referring you to additional documentation. So the CALPADS file specifications. The error list will identify the problem. Understanding what CALPADS wants, can learn that from the CALPADS file specifications, or if it's a transaction method processing type difficulty or error, you could look at the CFS Word document. And then for Fall 2, the CALPADS valid code combinations document, it helps you quite a bit. The valid code combinations not necessarily required for Fall 1, but for Fall 2, you'll come to find it's another great resource document. So that concludes this module, resolving rejected records and batch file submissions. The next module is the final module, where we'll just have a wrap up and recount some key points and conclude the training.